Keaton Mitchell has finally broken his silence about leaving the Ravens, and what he revealed completely changes the way a lot of people are looking at this situation. Because honestly, the way he described everything, it sounds like even he didn't see this coming. And the more details that come out, the stranger this whole thing starts to feel. Especially once you hear what Mitchell was already planning before the Ravens suddenly went quiet on him. And trust me, there's one detail involving the Chargers' immediate reaction that makes this look even worse for Baltimore. One of the biggest things that stood out in this entire story was Keaton Mitchell's reaction when talking about leaving the Ravens. And honestly, this does not sound like a player who expected to leave Baltimore anytime soon. From the way he talked about it, he genuinely believed he was staying with the team. Mitchell even admitted it himself. "I was surprised, I ain't going to lie." And to me, that one sentence says a lot about how this whole thing went down. The housing situation makes it even more obvious. Mitchell revealed that he never renewed his lease because he was waiting to hear back from the organization. He even said he was thinking about buying a truck because he fully expected to remain in Baltimore. That tells you everything you need to know about where his mindset was. This wasn't a player preparing to leave or desperately looking for another opportunity somewhere else. He truly thought the Ravens still wanted him around, but that call never came. And honestly, that's where this situation starts getting really weird to me. We're talking about a young, explosive player who still managed to produce while coming back from a serious ACL injury. The way Mitchell described it, it feels like he was sitting there expecting some kind of move from Baltimore, while the Ravens just stayed completely silent. And that's what raises even more questions about what Baltimore actually thinks about this running back room. Because the more you look at the options they currently have behind Derrick Henry, the harder it becomes to understand why the Ravens were so willing to let Keaton Mitchell walk away like this. And you know what makes this entire situation even more confusing? The current state of the Ravens' backfield. Because once you really start looking at this roster piece by piece, it becomes hard to understand why Baltimore made basically no effort to keep Keaton Mitchell around. To me, that's one of the strangest parts of this entire story. Derrick Henry is obviously still the centerpiece of this rushing attack. Nobody's arguing that. But behind him? There are a lot of question marks. Justice Hill is coming off a neck injury, and there's already talk about him possibly becoming a cap casualty. Rasheen Ali hasn't really carved out a role so far, and Adam Randall is still transitioning from wide receiver to running back. So it's not like the Ravens are overflowing with proven depth at this position. And here's the important part. Mitchell wasn't just some random player in this group. Even without getting a massive workload, he brought explosive plays every single time he touched the football. He was the kind of player who could completely flip a drive with one touch. So when Baltimore lets a player like that walk without showing any urgency to bring him back, fans are naturally going to start asking questions. Because honestly, looking at this situation right now, it feels like the Ravens convinced themselves they could easily replace a player who brought speed, unpredictability, and efficiency to the offense. And I'm not sure it's that simple. Especially when there's another part of this story that makes Baltimore's decision look even more questionable. Mitchell's numbers prove he was far more than just an ordinary backup in this league. And this is where, to me, the story really starts getting stronger. Because there's a huge difference between letting an unproductive player walk and letting go of someone like Keaton Mitchell. Even while coming back from a torn ACL, he still managed to be one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL whenever he got opportunities. The stats mentioned in the report are seriously impressive. Mitchell averaged 5.8 yards per carry, putting him among the top running backs in football in that category. On top of that, he ranked near the top of the league in explosive runs and yards after contact. That tells you exactly what kind of player he was in this offense. Someone who could turn an ordinary carry into a dangerous play instantly, and honestly, you could see that every time he stepped on the field for Baltimore. Even with limited touches, Mitchell's speed just looked different. He was the type of player who forced defenses to stay alert at all times. Give him a tiny crease, and suddenly he's creating a huge problem for the defense. In my opinion, Baltimore hasn't had many backs with that kind of game-breaking explosiveness. That's why this move still feels strange. Because when you combine efficiency, youth, and elite speed, that's usually exactly the type of player teams try to develop and keep around. But while the Ravens seemed surprisingly cold about the entire situation, another franchise immediately saw value in Mitchell the second he became available. One of the strongest parts of this story is the complete difference between how the Ravens handled things and how the Chargers reacted. because while Baltimore seemed to have absolutely no urgency to figure things out with Mitchell, Los Angeles practically sprinted toward him the moment he became a free agent. Mitchell himself explained it pretty directly. According to him, the Chargers contacted him probably like 20 seconds after he officially hit the market. And honestly, that quote sends a powerful message. It shows there was a team paying very close attention to his situation and waiting for the first chance to make a move. And I honestly think that matters emotionally for a player too. Imagine spending weeks waiting for a call from the Ravens, and then the very first team that reaches out immediately shows real interest, makes you feel wanted, and clearly believes in your value. It's not hard to understand why Mitchell quickly connected with the Chargers after that. What's even more interesting is that Los Angeles didn't bring him in as some cheap depth piece. The 2-year deal worth over $9 million, including $5 million guaranteed, shows the Chargers believe he can play a real role in this offense. And now the pressure shifts back to Baltimore, because a lot of people are going to be watching closely to see if the Ravens made a massive mistake letting this player get away. If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button to help the purple flock grow. Now the biggest question becomes, what is Keaton Mitchell going to do next with the Chargers? Because honestly, this has all the ingredients of one of those NFL stories where a player uses his departure as motivation to explode somewhere else. And looking at the way he fits in Los Angeles, it's not hard to picture that happening. The Chargers already have Omarion Hampton as the future centerpiece of the backfield. But Mitchell brings a completely different element to the offense. He's the guy with elite speed, quick cuts, and the ability to break a huge play at any moment. In the right offensive system, that can become an extremely dangerous weapon. And if I'm being real, I think there's a huge extra layer of motivation here. Based on the way everything unfolded, it's obvious Mitchell took this personally. When a player talks about being surprised, waiting for the organization to call, and already planning his life around staying with the team, you can tell this situation affected him. So it honestly wouldn't surprise me at all if he enters this season fully motivated to prove Baltimore made the wrong decision. And that's what makes this story even more interesting. The NFL loves narratives like this. The overlooked player, the team that gave up too soon, the perfect opportunity for a response on the field. And if Mitchell stays healthy and starts producing for the Chargers, this could easily become one of those stories that keeps following the Ravens for a very long time. Out of all the off-season moves happening around the league, this Keaton Mitchell situation grabbed attention because it doesn't feel like a normal exit. Based on Mitchell's own words, you can clearly tell he expected to stay in Baltimore. And honestly, when you combine that with the production he still delivered coming off a major injury, it becomes really hard not to question the Ravens' decision here. At the same time, the Chargers immediately saw something in him. The speed of their response, the contract they offered, and the way Mitchell talked about finally feeling valued all show that Los Angeles believes he can become an important piece of this offense. And now there's this feeling hanging over the entire situation. If Mitchell breaks out in this new opportunity, Baltimore might end up hearing about this move for a long time. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Ravens made a mistake letting Keaton Mitchell walk away? Or do you believe Baltimore made the right decision for the future of the roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I really want to know how you're seeing this entire situation. And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out and I'll see you in the next video.